What's up everyone, my name is Emily. Welcome back to Emily Reads Books. If you're new here, welcome to the club. If you're returning, thank you so much for coming back. It's great to see you. I hope you are having a great day and that your family is safe and healthy. So today I'm going to do a October wrap-up. I read 13 books this month. Lucky number 13. One of them was a DNF though. I got asked a few times why I don't do a lot of wrap-ups and stuff like that, and honestly I thought it was because no one would be interested in it. So, but here I am, I'm gonna do it. And yeah. Before we get started, if you would like and subscribe to my channel, I post a new video every week. Okay, so first book I read this month was Bird Box. I think I read that, I finished it in a day. I honestly think I read it like October 1st. It was the first book I read this month. I was really excited to read it because it was so short, and I ended up really enjoying it. I don't remember what I rated it because honestly my ratings, they don't really mean anything. If you don't know what Bird Box is about, basically it takes place in a world in which this sort of unknown creature has been forcing people to, I'm gonna put a trigger warning in here, where basically these unknown creatures that people can't see, you look at them, they make you commit suicide. So kind of a very graphic horror kind of novel, and honestly the concept of it I thought was so interesting because it was unlike any other book I had really read before. I was familiar with the movie and I was kind of interested in seeing how it would differ, and it really did have some major differences, and I really liked getting to see Mallory's character a bit more and kind of where she was coming from mentally through the whole thing, and I honestly thought it was fascinating. It was a psychological thriller and I really enjoyed it. These are totally going to be out of order, by the way. So next book I read was Geekarella, and this is a Cinderella retelling through sort of our protagonist Ella is a sci-fi nerd, and it's a fictional series that I would say is somewhere between Star Wars and Star Trek. This kind of takes place in this universe where Ella is this very nerdy young girl. Everything else is pretty much the same. She's got two stepsisters, an evil stepmother, her parents she had lost. It was very cute and very, very sweet, and I really enjoyed it. It was very satisfying. I mean, it was a Cinderella retelling with a very relatable character. On a very similar note, I also read Bookish and the Beast. This takes place in the same universe. It's written by the same author. However, we have some new characters. We have Rosie, who is our Belle character. I really enjoyed about this book was, in contrast to Geekarella, we had a lot of representation of non-binary characters, characters of color, LGBTQ plus characters, and even beyond that, I am a Beauty and the Beast fan. I don't hide the fact that I love Beauty and the Beast. So reading this retelling was so satisfying. It was so cute. Definitely going to reread it at some point. I'm missing books that I read. It's not important, but I need to start keeping better track. Okay, after that I read Of Bees and Mist, and this was a book that I had really high hopes for, and not that it didn't live up to my expectations, it was just different than I had expected it to be. Meaning, I had no idea what to expect, but it was not what I was expecting. Does that make sense? Okay. It was a domestic drama, and it kind of takes place out of time. I can't remember if we're given a time period, but there are lots of things that hint at like early 1900s or even earlier, and then a lot of things that I'm like, is this the 1950s? Basically, we have a young woman named Meridia, and she lives in kind of this world covered in mist, hence the name. There's a lot of magical elements to it that I can't really explain because they're never really explained. There's not really a magic system, it's just kind of part of the aura of this book. But basically, she kind of has a very miserable life growing up, and she falls in love with a young man and moves in with his family, and her new mother-in-law, his mom, is kind of evil, I guess, for lack of a better word. She's very manipulative, and she spends a lot of the book trying to pin people against each other so that she can have power. And with that is a lot of symbolism with the bees and kind of these nasty things that she's saying. And the book is kind of Meridia's fight for her life and to be able to love the person that she loves and to fight to be happy. Now, this book was so beautiful, and I wish I had read it in a class where we could dissect the symbolism and the characters of this book. I think it needs more. I feel like me reading it by myself didn't give it enough. Does that make sense? I want to analyze it with someone else. So if you've read this book, please let me know. Definitely a worthwhile read. I think it was a little bit longer than I wish it was, probably by about 100 pages, but overall the story was so interesting. I really loved it, and Meridia was such a badass character, put into some severely unfortunate circumstances, and it was gripping. I really loved it. The next thing I read this month was the Blue is for Nightmares series. This is a series of 4 books, and they all follow a character named Stacy Brown, and she is a practicing Wiccan, and she has premonitions through her dreams of someone getting murdered, hurt in some way, and she and her friends kind of use her dreams to prevent this from happening and save said person. I think I gave like the series as a whole like 3 stars because individually the books are fine. They're interesting. We have a wide range of characters, personalities. I did think that the characters seemed very two-dimensional and there wasn't a lot of progression through the series. There wasn't a lot of development. The series was kind of formulaic. It was very much inciting incident. Stacy starts having nightmares. How do we prevent this thing from happening? And then the end, you know. And while I really loved the elements of magic and witchcraft and being a hereditary witch and stuff like that, I loved all of that. I did think that beyond the fact that the stories were pretty okay, it kind of fell a little bit flat. But they were enjoyable and I did read all 4 of them. Next is The Haunting of Hill House. I wanted to like this book so bad. I was so excited to read it, and then I got about 60 pages into it, and I just couldn't do it, you guys. It was not for me, and I don't know if it was the way it was written. I don't know if it was the time period in which it was written, but I wasn't really loving it, and I had a few friends reach out to me, and they were like, no, this is one of the few times the TV series actually did a better job than the book, and I was like, well, great. So I ended up DNFing The Haunting of Hill House, which was a big bummer, but I guess if enough people say that it's worth it, maybe I'll go think about picking it back up again. Next I read was a graphic novel of Sleepy Hollow. I no longer have it. I wanted to show you the pictures, but I had to return it to the library. However, I read The Legend of Sleepy Hollow. This was something I had been looking forward to reading for a while. I love Halloween, as a lot of you know, and this is a very iconic Halloween story, and I had never read the original tale, and I thought what better way to do it than through a graphic novel, which was short and sweet and interesting, and the photos were absolutely gorgeous. I really enjoyed it, and you know, any sort of Halloween lore is okay in my book. Next, I read Rules for Vanishing. I kind of really loved it. It was written in a way that was very similar to the Blair Witch Project. So it's told through a series of interviews, written down statements, videos, text messages, stuff like that. Basically, our main character's sister goes missing, and there is this legend. Basically, there's this legend, and if you have your partner and you say this specific phrase and then take 13 steps, you kind of reach this like other realm, and you have to kind of face these different trials and get through the game in order to go back to your life. And basically what they figure out is this girl's sister gets caught in this place, and she's been caught for like a year. So a bunch of friends, I think there's 6 of them, go on this journey to find the sister, and the story is them explaining to an investigator what happened through video evidence and written statements. I loved this because you never really knew who to trust. Everyone is saying the other person is lying. We and we as the reader are kind of piecing together the evidence and listening to the story unfold in real time. So that was really cool. I really enjoyed this book, and it was kind of scary at some points, not gonna lie. I had to look over my shoulder when I was reading at work sometimes. Finally got to read Felix Ever After, and this book was so good. I know I gave this one 5 stars. This book changed my life. I cried probably the entire time reading it. I love the way that the author was able to talk about such delicate issues in a real, true, and unique way, and I've never had a narrator or a protagonist whose voice sounded just like Felix's, and to take on these hard problems. Being a teenager is so hard, and to be questioning your identity or your sexuality or your gender or anything like that is so difficult, and the way that this author was able to express this so truthfully, rawly, and real. Oh, long story short, Felix is a transgender male who has never been in love, and this book is Felix's story of love, and I don't even want to say anything more than that. I just think you should read it. It was so worth it. Definitely recommend. My last book of the day that I finished this month, I literally finished it October 31st, Halloween Day, was The Witch of Blackbird Pond. This book was written in, I believe, around the 1950s. A young girl, I believe she's 16, her grandfather who was taking care of her dies, and she travels to Puritan, Connecticut to live with her aunt and her family. And she was not raised Puritan, so it's kind of a culture shock. And then beyond that, she befriends the neighborhood witch. Her name is Hoena. She's an older woman who lives alone and is a Quaker instead of a Puritan, and therefore is a social outcast. And our main character, Kit, is also sort of a social outcast because of everything going on. And she decides to teach English to another young girl in the area whose parents deemed her too stupid to learn how to read and write. And they do this with Hoena at her house. I'm explaining this really poorly, I'm so sorry. But basically, Hoena gets accused of witchcraft when a lot of the children in the area fall sick. And it's the story of Kit and learning how to fight for herself and fighting for education, fighting for being unique, fighting for being different. It was good. I think I gave it 4 stars this morning on my Instagram. By the way, if you're not following me on my Instagram, I'm gonna put my handle down here. Go follow. Go do it now. The Witch of Blackbird Pond. I'd never heard of it before. I found this on the same article, I believe, that I found Rules for Vanishing. Definitely was not disappointed. It read like a modern novel, even though it was definitely written in like the mid-early 1900s, which I suppose isn't that long ago, but still. Yeah, it was great. Okay, that is 13 books total for the month of October. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe and share. I post a new video every week. If you are interested in seeing more wrap-up videos or TBR videos, please comment them down below. If there's anything you'd like me to do this November, please also comment that down below. I'm always looking for new suggestions on videos. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I will see you next time.